92%. That is the number that basically slapped me in the face when I started the research for today's deep dive.
It's a huge number.
It really is. According to the source material we're looking at, 92% of people never follow through on their New Year's goals. They set them, they buy the shiny new planner, they tell their friends, and then nothing.
And honestly, it's a little depressing when you think about it.
Totally. And usually when we fall into that 92%, the default is just self-blame. We think, oh, I'm just lazy, or I don't have enough willpower. I know I've been there.
We've all been there. But the source material for today, it just flips that whole narrative. It argues that if you're in that 92%, it's not a failure of character. It's a failure of strategy.
Okay.
Specifically, it's because you are using hope as your strategy instead of building a system.
And that is the distinction we are going to unpack today. Hope versus system. We are diving into a framework presented by Jay Shetty. And I'll be honest, when I first saw the title of his breakdown, something like, I was stuck, confused, and unsuccessful until I did this, my clickbait alarm went off a little bit.
It does sound a bit like a magic pill, I'll give you that.
It does. But once you get past that headline, the content is surprisingly structural. It's not a magic pill at all. It's a 12-month blueprint.
Exactly. The premise is that you can completely transform your life, your identity, your career, everything by, say, February 2027.
But a year feels like such a long time.
It feels long, sure. But Shetty makes this really poignant observation right at the start. We waste years waiting. We wait for motivation. We wait to feel ready. And while we're waiting, the year just passes quietly anyway.
That part hit me hard. The time is going to pass regardless.
It is.
So our mission for this deep dive is to take this huge 12-month plan and just break it down for you. We're going to get into the mechanics of how human behavior actually changes.
And to do that, we have to start with that failure rate you mentioned. Why do 92% of people drop off? It's a misunderstanding of how motivation works biologically.
Okay, let's dig into this. Because I always assumed motivation was, like a fuel tank. You fill it up and it drives you.
It's much, much more fleeting than that. The source highlights that in a moment of temptation, let's say you're choosing between the gym or the couch.
Or the salad versus the donut.
Exactly. Motivation doesn't last. It only spikes for about 3 to 5 minutes.
Wait, 3 to 5 minutes? That's it?
That's it. It's a chemical flush. It spikes, and then it just crashes.
That explains so much. I mean, that's barely enough time to find my sneakers.
Precisely. And that is why relying on willpower is just a losing battle. Motivation is a spark, not a fuel source. So the argument is you need to replace motivation with environment.
He drops a stat here that I found kind of wild. He says your environment drives 45% of your daily behavior.
Almost half. We like to think we're these rational decision makers, but really, we're just responding to cues around us. If there are cookies on the counter, you eat cookies. It's that simple.
There's a case study in the source that illustrates this perfectly. I think we should walk through it. The story of the woman and the nightstand.
Right. This is a perfect example of environment over willpower. So this woman was trying to establish a morning routine, journaling, working out, the whole package.
And failing constantly.
She'd wake up, grab her phone, scroll for an hour, and the morning was just gone. She felt terrible.
So what did they do? Send her to a discipline boot camp or something?
No. They rearranged her furniture.
Literally just move stuff around.
Literally. They redesigned her nightstand. First, and this is crucial, they moved her phone into another room, not just out of reach, but out of the room.
Okay, so that adds a ton of friction to the bad habit.
A ton. Then they replaced the phone on the nightstand with a journal. And finally, they laid her gym clothes out the night before, right next to the bed.
So she wakes up, the phone's gone, the journal is staring her in the face, and she practically trips over her sneakers when she gets up.
That's the system. And the source notes that she didn't suddenly become a disciplined person, she became a supported person.
I love that distinction. Disciplined versus supported. We usually think of discipline as this internal muscle, but this suggests we can outsource it to our surroundings.
We can. And the goal is to flip the friction, make the bad stuff hard to reach and the good stuff totally unavoidable.
The source suggests focusing this friction hacking on 2 specific windows of time he calls morning and night anchors. Why just those times?
Because the middle of the day is chaos. You have work, emails, emergencies. You can't control 2:00 p.m., but you generally can control the first 30 minutes and the last 30 minutes. If you stabilize those anchors, you stabilize the whole ship.
Okay, so once the environment is set up to support us, we have to look inward. And this leads to the second pillar, shifting your identity.
And this starts with the question we ask ourselves. Usually it's, what do I want? But he says that's the wrong question.
So what's the right one?
The question should be, who do I want to become?
I have to play devil's advocate here. It sounds a bit like semantics.
Mhm.
I want to lose weight versus I want to become a healthy person. Isn't the result the same?
Not really. It changes the sustainability. If your goal is just to lose 10 pounds, what happens when you lose it?
You stop. You're done.
Exactly. You check the box.
Yeah.
But if you focus on becoming an athlete, well, an athlete just works out. It's who you are. It's a permanent trait, not a temporary outcome.
That aligns with how he redefines success. It's not the big applause moment. It's, what was it, quiet mornings, late nights, and 100 almosts before one yes.
That 100 almost line is so powerful, it reframes rejection as just part of the process.
But practically, how do you change your identity? You can't just wake up and say, I am a leader now. Affirmations only go so far.
Right, you need evidence. And the best way to generate that evidence is through skill acquisition. A year is long enough to master a skill that can totally uproot your life.
And we're not talking about a casual hobby here. We're talking high-value skills.
Correct. And there's a huge mental health benefit to this. Learning a new skill is shown to reduce anxiety and depression by up to 34%.
That's a significant drop. Why is that?
Because when you're learning, you're growing. And when you're growing, you feel capable. Mastery is the antidote to feeling stuck. Your brain realizes, oh, I can change my reality.
There was that example of the woman who felt stuck in her job. She just committed to learning public speaking for 20 minutes a day.
Just 20 minutes. But over a year, she started leading meetings. She was pitching ideas. The skill changed how she saw herself. She stopped being stuck and started being a leader.
So for you listening, the challenge is to pick one skill. The source lists a few heavy hitters. Public speaking, emotional regulation, networking.
But how do you know which one to pick? That's the big fear, right? Picking the wrong path.
It is. I'd pick one and then regret it a month later.
So he suggests a tactic called the immersion weekend. This is brilliant. Don't commit for a year blindly. Spend one weekend just diving deep into that topic. Listen to the podcasts, read the articles.
Like a test drive.
Exactly. By Sunday night, you'll know. You'll either be bored to tears or you'll be fired up and ready to go for the next 12 months.
I love that. Test drive the new you. Okay, so we have the environment, we're building a new skill, but we don't live in a vacuum. Which brings us to pillar 3, the relationship audit.
And this is often the hardest part. It gets emotional, but
Wow.
the source cites that huge Harvard study, the longest study on happiness ever done.
Robert Waldinger one.
That's the one. And the conclusion was clear. The quality of your relationships is the strongest predictor of your future well-being. More than your bank account, more than your cholesterol.
But the source gets really specific about what loneliness is. It's not being alone. It's being surrounded but feeling unseen.
It's a crucial distinction. It's talking without being heard, the absence of safety and honesty.
Talking without being heard. Wow, that resonates. So how do we fix this? Because doing a relationship audit sounds kind of cold, like you're firing your friends.
It sounds calculating, but it's really about protecting your energy. The source gives you 4 specific questions. 1, who do you need to call more? 2, who do you need to talk to less?
That second one is the kicker, isn't it?
It is. But then 3, who do you want to spend time with? And 4, who do you need to distance from? And the actionable step isn't to dump everyone. It's to just do 3 things over the year.
Just 3.
Repair 1 relationship, release 1 draining connection, and deepen 1 meaningful bond. Just 1 of each.
And if you release that one energy vampire, you free up so much capacity for everything else.
Exactly. But speaking of things that hold us down, let's talk about fear.
Ah, yes,
Yeah.
the invisible barrier.
Right.
The source makes this great point about our to-do list. We stare at them, we don't do the things on them, and we think we're procrastinating.
Mm.
But he says, no, we're not procrastinating, we're scared.
Exactly. We call it laziness because that's less vulnerable. But we don't send the email because we fear rejection. We don't apply for the job because we fear failure. So instead of a to-do list, he says, make a fear list.
So you actually write down what you're afraid of.
Yes, bring it into the light. And here's the key insight. Action reduces anxiety. Avoidance amplifies it. Every time you avoid the scary thing, the fear gets bigger.
I love the mantra he offers for this. If you feel afraid, do it afraid. If you feel scared, do it scared.
It sounds so simple, but it's profound. We think we need to wait for the fear to go away before we act. I'll start when I'm confident, but it's backward.
You get confident by acting.
You start while you're terrified, and confidence comes after the action. You do the thing to get over the fear.
Dude it afraid. That's going on a sticky note on my mirror. Now, there's one more pillar that surprised me. We've talked about self-improvement, skills, relationships, all very me-focused.
Yeah.
And then he pivots to service.
It seems counterintuitive, right? If I want to improve my life, why focus on others?
Exactly. Isn't that a distraction?
But the source frames service not as charity, but as medicine.
Medicine, that's a strong word.
It's backed by neuroscience. Helping others activates the brain's reward pathways. It gets you out of your own head.
So it breaks that cycle of rumination.
Totally. And he stresses microservice. You don't need to start a foundation. Just volunteer 1 hour a week. Help one person quietly. Use that new skill you're learning for a friend. It reminds you that you have value to give.
Okay, so we have the pillars. Environment, skills, relationships, fear, and service. But trying to do all of this at once sounds exhausting. I'd burn out by February.
And that is how you end up in the 92%. That's why the final piece of the blueprint is seasonality.
Breaking the year down.
A year isn't one big block, it's 4 seasons. Shetty suggests breaking your 12 months into 4 90-day chapters. You just give yourself permission to focus.
So how would that look?
Well, season 1 might be reset. For 90 days, you just focus on your environment and habits. Season 2 is learn. You devote that time to your skill. Season 3, connect. You focus on relationships. And season 4 is expand, where you face the fears.
That feels so much more doable. But what happens if I miss a day or a week? That's where the all-or-nothing mentality kicks in for me.
He addresses that with the average mindset. Consistency doesn't mean being perfect every single day.
Like a batting average in baseball.
Precisely. If you aim for 5 workouts a week, some weeks you might only do 3. Other weeks you might do 7. The goal is that the average over time is 5.
That flexibility prevents the shame spiral.
It keeps you in the game. And staying in the game is the only way to win.
So let's zoom out. The core message here is that 1 year of intention can undo 10 years of drifting.
That's the big takeaway for me. We vastly underestimate what we can do in a year. And if you spread these pillars across 12 months using that seasonal approach, it's completely achievable.
And I think it's important to remember why we're doing this. It's not just to check boxes.
No.
Shetty ends with this really provocative thought. He says, imagine if you set a huge goal today and achieved it tomorrow, instantly.
You'd be relieved for a second, but you'd also feel empty.
Which sounds crazy. Why would I be disappointed?
Because there's no meaning without the growth. If you skip the struggle, you skip the character development. This year-long process isn't a delay. It's the crucible. It's where the actual transformation happens.
So the question isn't just what do you want, but who will you be in February 2027?
Exactly.
You don't need a perfect plan. You just need to take one step, rearrange the nightstand, make one call.
Just start. Because the year's going to pass anyway. You might as well see who you can become by the end of it.
And on that note, we're going to wrap up this deep dive. We hope this gives you a little less hope and a little more system for the year ahead. Thanks for listening.
Take care.